Good afternoon, Facebook, on Friday afternoon, and it's closing in on 7 o'clock on a Friday afternoon. These long days are glorious, aren't they? It feels earlier, but the sun is getting low in the sky, and supper time is approaching we got to get kids fed into bed, but I've been working on stuff and wanted to spend a bit since we did an update. Um, I'm out working in my summer office, which is in the garage, and I have a lot of work to do in the garage. But this is also my summer office where we're trying to get things done. And if I am trying to watch the Facebook feed, if you have comments or questions, I'm not going to be real long, and you'll hear some traffic go by probably. But just some updates on things going on. So, as probably most of you know, and I mentioned it Sunday, we are doing Camp Berea right now. We've had uh, six camper days so far, and so it's just a day camp. They just come in for a few hours, but it's what we could do safely, and it's gone so well, better than I feared, greater than I hoped. Let me say that. Um, and we've been able to hopefully stay pretty safe as you can be. I saw a great headline the other day: every decision is a risk, and every risk is a decision. And I was like, boy, that really just sums it up, isn't it? And that's life in general, but especially right now. So anyway, camp's been going really well. It's been excited, and we've had a good chunk of our Beans Corner kids there, which has been nice to see them and get time with them, and it's just been incredibly positive thing. Also, we've had the last 2 weeks of in-person services at Beans Corner where we've been able to let people come in again. And the first week we didn't quite fill up. And then last week I think we were a little closer to our capacity of what we can have in the main auditorium. We have people that we've got it set up so that we can offer people to go upstairs in the old sanctuary and watch on a big screen. And we have people who are willing to do that if we had more people sign up than we had room. We also can do 2 services and go back to offering the 8 o'clock service. If we had enough people sign up, we just haven't had enough people sign up yet who want to do that. And so we're eager to have people come if you feel safe. And it is very different. It's very different, but it's been awesome to see people and be able to see each other. And some people say, well, why would I show up at church, go up in the upper auditorium and watch on a screen? I can watch on a screen from home. Yes, you can watch on a screen from home, but you cannot watch on a screen from home with other people from church. And so let's talk about that for a minute. Let's talk about church. This is the church stream. I'm the church pastor. Let's talk a little bit about church because, man, the Sunday morning gathering is a challenge. And it's not just a challenge for us at Beans Corner. It's a challenge for everyone. And we've even had some of our sister churches who opened up and then had to close back up because this stinking virus is a virus. And some people get really sick and some people don't get sick at all. And the problem is when a lot of people get sick at once. And we're seeing that in other parts of the country right now where the healthcare workers are just freaking out. They don't have enough beds, and then they can't take good care of people, and people can't get the care. And even if you don't get COVID, sometimes people need care, and if they got beds lined up in the hallway of the hospital, that's no good. So we just got to be careful. And so it's tricky because it's safe. Like Maine is doing great. It's great. And that's why we've been able to have camper days, because we do not seem to have a lot of community spread right now. And it means that we can do some stuff safer and be able to not just be, I'm not sitting here with our garage door shut and hiding under the table. We can do stuff. And of course, it's only safe until it's not safe. And that's why we are careful. And for someone, like me at camp or at church, and those of us in authority at church, there's always people who get mad at us because either and it's great. What's really cool is if you're in leadership at a time like this, whether you're a town leader, government leader, organization leader, church leader, camp leader, you have the amazingly cool opportunity to, no matter what you do, have lots of people be mad at you. And if you do it really well, you can get more people mad at you, because if you manage to kind of hit the right balance, it means you can get people mad at you from both sides, which is more fun, because then you can get fired on from both directions. And that's the way to do it. That's the fun part, because you have people over here going, "You're not being safe enough," and other people here, "You're being too cautious and so it's great. It's fun. And if you ever want to try it, come talk to me, and I'll help you out, because it's fantastic to take it from all sides. But it is the burden of the fact that if stuff happens, we bear responsibility. And the Bible talks about that leaders, whether they be governmental leaders or church leaders, have responsibility over souls to take care of people. And my children really hate it when I take care of them with unpopular decisions like bedtime and limited desserts and things like that. They don't always enjoy that. Who knew? And because today there were chores that had to be done. And I can tell you that made me so popular here at Zion's Hill, because why do I have to do that? And that's the thing with church. And so we just have to be careful. And if you think we're not being careful enough, I'm sorry. If you think we're being too careful, I'm sorry. We're really working on trying to do church. And so one of the other things to realize is, as fall comes, things might change again. There's a lot of concern for what happens once we get flu season. But now here's the cool part. Here's what's neat. There's also tremendous opportunity. And one of the things that we're going to be trying to do, and you've heard me talk about this before, too often we've defined church as an hour and a half service on Sunday morning. And that is not church. That is a church service. It's a worship time, but it's not church. Church is us as people in community together, praying for each other, ministering to each other, bearing one another's burdens, weeping, laughing, and sharing our lives with one another and making disciples. That's church. And we do some of that on Sunday morning, to be sure. And a lot of us love Sunday morning. I love Sunday morning. Sunday morning is like the time when I connect with everyone and get to do one of the big things I do most, which is I love to teach the Word of God. However, right now, where we can't do Sunday morning the way we want, we can still do it. And one of the things that we're going to keep working more towards, and I'd like your help with it if you're part of us, is we want to do more gathering groups. So I mentioned a few minutes ago, say, well, if I'm going to watch a screen, I can do that at home. But you can't do it with other people. Or can you? Depending on what your level of comfort is, and depending on what other people's level of comfort is, we need to be the church, and we need to be the church, which means that we get together. And it's not going to be smart or possible for us all, especially we're such a big church, to all get together in the same place at the same time. But we should still be connecting. We need each other in our lives. And so one of the things that's could be very smart to do and help our mental health and our spiritual health is to meet in small groups that get together regularly, the same people. That way, we won't be, mixing and matching to if the virus gets into our area, to suddenly be the people that spread it all through our community, which that would not be very loving to our community. But maybe there's another 2 or 3 people or another family or 2 that you are close to or would like to get close to. Invite them over or accept an invitation. And maybe each week plan a viewing party. And this time of year where maybe outdoor is safer, do it in the garage. I'm working to get this set up so I can have some guys over for a movie night here in the garage, because it's outdoors is safer, where the air can circulate more. But even once we have to be inside more, and we have to be maybe even more cautious as flu season hits, to be able to get together and be in each other's lives is essential. It's part of what it means to be church. And we'd like to do that. And we'd like to help you with that. If you say, hey, I'd host a viewing party, I'd host a gathering group, then talk to us. And we're going to hopefully between Jeremy and Allison and the rest of the shepherds, we can kind of get this a little more organized. But you don't even it's not like you need our permission. And that would be the same as right now being able to meet Sunday morning in the upstairs. Yes, you're watching the proceedings on a screen, but it's a chance to be with other people. And even if you're staying socially distant, where you're staying more than 6 feet apart, kind of being careful of the air we breathe and stuff, it's still connecting and seeing people face to face and being able to talk and be in each other's lives. And we need that. We can't if we just stay home the whole time. There's some real downsides to that. We all know that. And part of being the church is being together. Now, the other thing, and I've been working on this a lot, I got a lot more to do, and taking some time for camp has slowed me down a little. But we're working on doing some more training. We're going to be launching some new training and some other new tactics to continue to be the church. How do we connect to new people? How do we let people integrate? How do we continue to teach the kids? How do we do all some of the things that we need to do and raise up leaders and make disciples? And a lot of that falls on me and some of the rest of the staff. Expect to see more stuff coming out in the next few weeks. And of course, I will be going on vacation at some point, but we'll still be putting stuff out and just gearing up for fall. And there's a lot of stuff going on with that. So there's some really neat opportunities. Here's the big thing to think about. And this is what's so important. God's church always adapts. You go back to the early church in Jerusalem, and then as they spread out through the empire, and then as they came under persecution, and then, through the last 2,000 years, the church has changed and changed and changed again, and it changes from culture to culture of how the church expresses itself, but it never stops being the church, and it never stops doing what God called it to do. Now, some things that start being church, they kind of stop being church when they get too religious, when they get caught up in their own thing, and they get away from God's mission. And we see that in the book of Revelation, where God says to some of the churches, you need to straighten back up. You need to get back on task, or I'll take your lampstand away, which means you're not going to be one of my churches anymore. But God's church, where God is active, the gates of hell cannot prevail against it. No government edict or COVID-19 or oppressive communist regime or anything else has ever been able to stop God's church, because Jesus Christ is ahead of it. And Jesus Christ is all-powerful as the Lord of the universe, the creator of all things, and his church cannot be stopped. And if we are his church, then we shouldn't be fretting about as something either something as small as wearing a mask or something as big as can we gather. Okay? Because God's church can never be threatened. God's church can never be hurt. God's church can never be defeated, because greater is he that is in us than he that is in the world. And when as Christians we get into this defensive crouch, well, then obviously we've taken our eyes off the Lord. And when we start fussing and attacking one another, our eyes are off the Lord then too, aren't they? And so we can't do that. And we can't allow our preferences for how we want to do church to stop us from being involved in what God is going to do. Because God is calling people. He wants to reach people. He wants Beans Corner and the other churches in the area. He wants us to be salt and light. And the fact that we can't all meet in our building Sunday morning hasn't changed anything as far as God's intention for us. And so if we're like, well, if I can't be there Sunday morning with the band and everything I like, well, then I guess I'm just out. Well, then you do not understand God's program. I'm sorry. Because God's program is not about us sitting in that building. And God's program is not dependent on us sitting in that building. Because God's program is dependent on God. And none of this stuff holds him back. And I don't want it to hold us back. And I don't want us to feel defeated just because things are different. And just because I can't do it the way I want, I'm not going to take my ball and go home. Because God wants me to stay and be involved and adapt. And that's what we're going to do. And as long as God has called me to be the pastor and to lead us, that's the direction we're going in. And I'm so thankful. Cody, Beth, Rick and Lisa, Bill, TJ, Jeremy and Allison, and many more. I can't even name everybody that are doing stuff, that are involved. And I know there are more of you who are going to be, because we're going to be asking you. And I know that there's a lot of people still doing stuff. The older ladies, the grandmas and stuff, have been getting together in person and being careful, but praying and doing Bible study. That's exciting. My mom's been able to go. That's awesome. I want to put up a quick graphic, and I'm going to move off to the side here, but I want to show you an image here. So I'm really excited. Starting this week, we finished our series on Rest Stop, and so we're starting a new series this week called Living in Empire. And let me just read to you some of the cool chapter titles, because if you know me, you know I love a good chapter title. So here are some of my cool chapter titles that I've got. They include, this week, coming up this Sunday, Walk Like an Egyptian. Next week, Pharaoh and the Full-Blood Prince. Part 3, Home Away, instead of Home Alone. Part 4, The Magic Chief. Part 5, Babylonian Idol. Part 6, The Lion King. Part 7, now for a word from our sponsor, Part 8, Pilot Episode. And our final part, Part 9, Game of Rome's. Game of Rome's. Okay? Because, hey, we got an election coming up, and people are all upset about government and all this stuff. And so we're going to talk about how do we, as Christians, live in these empires. And so this week, Walk Like an Egyptian, we'll look at Joseph living and working under Pharaoh. What did it mean for Joseph as a Christian to work and live under Pharaoh? And then part 2, Pharaoh and the Full-Blood Prince, we're going to look at Moses, who also worked under Pharaoh, but with a very different relationship. And so we're going to find some wisdom, I hope, by looking at what the Christians before us have done and how they've related to governments and to leaders and how they have been involved, because this is something Christians like to fight over like crazy. And we get all caught up in the politics. And you know me, I am not looking to weigh in on earthly politics in the sense of here's what you should do as far as politically. I do think that the Bible speaks to us about everything. And so we are going to look at what the Bible teaches us, and then you have to figure out what that means for you. But we're going to look at what has God's people done in relationship to all these different governments, most of which were not pro-Christian. And so I'm excited about it. So it's a big series. It's a summer series. It will go into September, and I think it will be very helpful for us. So I'll make this graphic go away, so I'm not sharing the screen with it anymore, because I was getting tired of leaning. But I'm looking forward to that, and we'll start that this Sunday morning with Walk Like an Egyptian. And I hope that you'll join us either by signing up and coming in person, or by meeting up with us online, either catching us Sunday morning, which I think is a great time to do it, but even if you have to miss Sunday morning because of something else, that you'll catch it some other time. But again, I would love to have you, whenever possible, catch the church service online with others, even if it's just your family. Got some people saying hi, and Gabrielle says hi, and I hope that Austin is recovering well. I've enjoyed many of you coming out on Zoom, and we will be having Zoom this Sunday, as far as I know, and excited for that. So that's kind of the update, and I got a little preachy there, but I hope you don't mind. I think there's a lot we can do, a lot we can work on. I'm hoping to connect with more people. I've had several people over. I've got if it's raining, we can sit in here inside the garage with the doors open. If it's not raining, out in my yard is very comfortable in the shade. And there's a lot of ways for us to safely connect and get together, and we need to be doing that. And I'm very thankful for all the ways I've been able to do that. And again, it's been nice to be able to be down at camp and see a bunch of our campers, see a bunch of our teens from church. God is good. And even when we go through hard times, even when we are faced with difficult things, and there are Christians in the world who would give anything to be struggling the way we are, because they have much worse persecution, much worse situations than what we have. And we are just so fortunate to only be dealing with what we're dealing with. So let's keep our eyes on the Lord. Let's not let circumstances and even differences of opinion divide us. As I have said before, we must not allow our coming together to tear us apart. And I understand that there is no way we're keeping everyone happy. Our goal isn't to keep you happy. If you thought church's job was to keep you happy, you have again misunderstood church and church leadership. Our goal is to serve you and to lead you towards obedience to Christ in our humility, our service for one another, our loving one another, loving our neighbor as ourselves. If you say that you think I'm getting it wrong and that we're getting it wrong most of the time, well, you could be right, because I am a fallen man that is daily dependent on the unmerited favor, we call it grace, of Jesus Christ, who died for my sins. And so are you. And that gives us humility to bear with one another, even when we're wrong. I love you guys. I miss you. It's fun to be able to reach you this way, but I would love to be back to just all of us crowded into that building on Sunday, and I can't wait till the time that comes. I wish it didn't feel so far off. But then again, there's a lot of things I wish, and God has led me to this moment. So we will take what God gives us, and we will follow him. We will serve him. That's who we are as Beans Corner. Have a great weekend. Stay safe. And I hope that you at least see me, and maybe I'll get to see you Sunday morning. Until then, I love you, and have a good day.